Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSC, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examination. And about me, I'm Sandeep Bhushan Thumala, and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session is in regards to the DNA of the Hindu, that is of today's, that is March 2nd, 2021. And throughout this session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the newspaper, wherein we will identify the factual, analytical, and conceptual questions which will be useful for the prelims UPSC perspective. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing for the mains examination, your answers would be precise and concise, and thereby you would score higher marks in the mains examination. So this session at AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will certainly help you to crack both prelims and mains for the year 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we would be focusing at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that you can, you should, and you will. You can, you should, and you will. And you will only when you are brave and enough to start. You can, you should, and you will only when you are brave and enough to start. So what is very important is the secret of getting ahead is getting started. Only then you can achieve. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper, and here we would be talking about the cyber attack. The keyword is cyber attack, and the cyber attack by Chinese, which the power ministry, Union Power Ministry, has said that they have foiled or they have stopped the Chinese cyber attack. And now we'll look at what the Union Power Ministry has spoken about the foiling or stopping the Chinese cyber attack. And the ministry has said that it was a state sponsored Chinese hacker groups which have targeted various Indian power centers. So it was the Chinese cyber attack was on the Indian power centers, and it was a state sponsored Chinese hacker groups which have targeted Indian power centers. But the government has refused to confirm or deny the reports which has been from the New York Times report, which it says that based on the US cyber security firms, that the New York Times report says that, or it claims that Mumbai power outage in October 2020, and the Mumbai power outage in the October 2020 was part of a coordinated cyber attack by China. This is as per the reports of the New York Times based on a US cyber security firms. But the Union government refuses to confirm or deny the report by the New York Times that in October 2020 there was a Mumbai power outage, and that Mumbai power outage was part of the coordinated cyber attack by China. And the government refuses or it confirms or denies the report, and also it says that there was no data breach or no data loss because of the cyber attack by China, which it says that because it has been detected due to the cyber attack by China. So the government of India refuses to confirm or deny, and also says that there is no data breach or no data loss. But it says that there were instances wherein it was a state sponsored Chinese hacker groups which were trying to target the Indian power centers. And it says that the government says that there was no impact on any functionalities which were carried out by the power sector operations corporations due to the cyber attack. And the Union Power Ministry officials said that the Chinese group called as Red Echo, this is information which is important for prelims as prelims perspective, that is from UPSC prelims perspective, that which among the following groups the Union Power Ministry officials have warned and they have identified the malware? It is the Chinese group is Red Echo, which has been warned by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technologies by Cyber Emergency Response Team, and it has also warned the threat which the Red Echo would come up with a malware called as ShadowPad in the year, that is in the month of November 2020. Why the government is confirming any attack or denying or refusing the reports of New York Times is because the Union Power Ministry official says that the Chinese group Red Echo has been warned by coming up with a threat from a malware called as ShadowPad in the month of November 2020, and the Chinese group has been warned by NTROs, that is National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, NCIIPC, in the month of February 2021 this year about the threats which the New York Times report have released. So thereby the government says that we have identified, warned the malware which were trying to have the cyber attack by the Chinese group called as Red Echo with a malware on ShadowPad called as ShadowPad. So it's very clear that the government says that there is no impact of the cyber attack on the functionalities, on the power sector operations, cooperations. So thereby there is very clear information that Chinese cyber attack has been foiled by the Union Power Ministry, and there was no data breach, neither data loss, which has been clearly said by the Union Power Ministry. And this is as per the information and technology. You can look into this because the group name is Red Echo and the malware is ShadowPad, and the organizations or corporations which you need to understand because of the power failure which the New York report Times has said, that is Power Sector Operation Corporation and also the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center and the Cyber Emergency Response Team. All these three together under the Union Power Ministry has effectively handled the cyber attack which was state sponsored by China. And there is another news which talks about recycling the e-waste. This is the very important information both for prelims as well as mains examination for UPSC, because protecting the environment is very important, and thereby the IIT, that is Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi researchers have developed a technology to recycle the e-waste, and the technology which has been developed by the researchers at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, is called as zero emission technology. This is again crucial keyword for prelims perspective, that the technology which has been developed by IIT Delhi is zero emission technology. And what does this technology do? It manages and recycles the e-waste to wealth. This is the keyword, e-waste to wealth. So the zero emission technology, it manages and recycles the e-waste to wealth. Thereby this is the need of the hour to deal with one of the fastest growing waste streams in India and across the world. And what is growing waste streams in India is e-waste, and thereby to manage and recycle the e-waste to wealth, the IIT Delhi researchers have developed a technology called as zero emission technology, and the research group of IIT Delhi have gone ahead with being part of the catalytic reaction engineering laboratory, they have adopted a methodology to use the e-waste as an wealth, that is, use e-waste as an urban mine. This is another keyword which you need to focus, that there is a possibility that e-waste to wealth or e-waste to urban mine. Define it. And this researchers have adopted a methodology that by using e-waste as an urban mine for metal recovery and energy production. So, how does the e-waste be converted or managed and recycled to wealth is by metal recovery and energy production. By these two, the e-waste will be used as an urban mine. This keyword is crucial. E-waste to wealth and uses e-waste as an urban mine. These two keywords are crucial for understanding how the technology, that is zero emission technology, manages and recycles the e-waste to wealth or e-waste as an urban mine for metal recovery and energy production. And the researchers have said that the zero emission technology is a e-waste which shreds and pyrolyzed. That means e-waste will be shredded and pyrolyzed. What do you mean by pyrolyzed? That means it decomposes through heating. It is a procedure which decomposes the e-waste through heating at a high temperatures, and thereby by shredding and pyrolyzed it would come up to yield a liquid and gaseous fuels. Thereby it will leave beyond a metal rich solid fraction. Thereby, now we'll get into the technicality of it. The e-waste used in the zero emission technology, it shreds and pyrolyzes the e-waste and it decomposes through a heating at a high temperatures, and it will have the liquid and gaseous fuels, and then there is a metal rich solid fraction also, and again through a separation process of liquid and gaseous fuels and the metal rich solid, it will again, the separated metal rich solid will also, the residue will also yield 90 to 95% pure metal mixture, and some carbonaceous materials would be again the residue of the metal rich solid fraction. Here it will yield liquid and gaseous fuels, and on the other side you will have 90 to 95% of pure metal mixture and carbonaceous materials, and this carbonaceous materials is further converted into aerogel. And what is aerogel? It is produced by extracting the liquid component of a gel through supercritical drying or freeze drying. So you need to understand the concept of aerogel, because the carbonaceous material, which are the residue of the metal rich solid, is converted to aerogel, and aerogel is produced by extracting the liquid component of a gel of the carbonaceous material, and that extraction would be done through supercritical drying or freeze drying. So this is the method which is used to produce or to convert carbonaceous material to aerogel, and it is used for, aerogel is used for oil spillage cleaning the oil spills, dye removal, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide capture, and use in supercapacitors. So these are the benefits or the usage of aerogel, which is obtained from carbonaceous material, and this carbonaceous material is one of the residue of the metal rich solid, and metal rich solid is part of the e-waste which will be shredded and pyrolyzed which wherein you will yield liquid and gaseous fuels. So this is a procedure what takes up in the zero emission technology. So there could be a question on the zero emission technology in the prelims on which among the following statements are incorrect in regards to the zero emission technology which is used in the converting or using the e-waste into wealth or e-waste into urban mine. So you have liquid and gaseous fuels along with its metal rich solid fraction, and again while separating this solid residue you will have or you will get metal mixtures and carbonaceous materials, and this carbonaceous material further when it is converted into aerogel, aerogel can be used as oil spillage cleaning, dye removal, and as carbon dioxide capture, and also it is used in supercapacitors. So there is another question they can be used, I mean UPSC can come up in the prelims about which among the following statements are incorrect in regards to the aerogel. Aerogel is produced by extracting the liquid component of a gel through the concept called as supercritical drying and freeze drying, and it is used, benefits are this used in. So this is the way you need to look at how it can be used or how you need to focus for prelims as well as mains examination, because there would be couple of questions in one topic itself how the UPSC might focus. So recycling the e-waste, technology developed to recycle the e-waste is called as zero emission technologies, and we have looked at how it works. And the zero emission technology is certainly an outcome of a Department of Science and Technology, that is the department is the Government of India, and it has funded the project and developed technology so that this zero emission technology which has been funded by the Department of Science and Technology can be used or it will cater to the needs of smart cities, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative of the government. So it is very important to know about the zero emission technology both for prelims as well as mains examination, because you can write couple of lines on the zero emission technology, how it caters to the need of smart cities, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and also the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative of the government. So for the mains perspective, the zero emission technologies, the way it caters to the need of the smart cities, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative can be taken into consideration as a question, and you can try writing the answer. And how the e-waste management can be taken into consideration is, first you need to reduce the usage and if possible reuse it, recycle it and compost it, and then recover it and dispose it. But if you look at the hierarchy, the most desirable option is first, then reuse is second, recycle, compost is third option, fourth is recover, and fifth is disposal. That is least desirable option. And while you are disposing also, which is the least desirable option, make sure that e-waste is safe disposed so that it will not impact the health or the environment. So this is also, you can use it as a waste management hierarchy if a question is on the how e-waste is taken into consideration and how it will impact the environment and health. And there is another news which talks about Supreme Court exempts hostels, convents from tax. So here the tax which has been exempted onto hostels and convents. And here the Supreme Court of India has given the judgment that exemption of tax on hostels and convents, which results on the verdict against the Kerala government. And the bench rejects the Kerala's contention that the hostels and convents which are used should be taxed. And we look at what are the reasons that Supreme Court has put forth in its judgment that the tax be exempted on the hostels and convents. And it says that the Supreme Court has held the residential accommodation for nuns near a convent and hostels for students who have been or which are attached to the educational institutions can claim exemptions from paying the building tax. So what tax are we talking about that the Supreme Court has exempted and which it has rejected the Kerala's contention of imposing the tax is building tax in Kerala. That means if the residential accommodation is for nuns near a convent and hostels for students which are attached, that means that residential accommodation, if they are attached to an educational institution, then that residential accommodation can claim an exemption from paying a building tax. And this judgment was delivered by a bench led by Justice Rohinton Nariman, and he has said that building can be exempted from property tax. So when we are talking about the building tax, it is property tax. And the Supreme Court has given its verdict on the property tax in Kerala. And it is that very clear that Supreme Court has rejected the Kerala's contention of property tax in Kerala on residential accommodation where nuns are staying, which those residential accommodations are attached to educational institution. And the bench has made it very clear that those buildings can be exempted from property tax only when the core purpose of the residential accommodation, only when the core purpose of the residential accommodation to the nuns and students are not for profit but they provide them access or easy access to the educational institutions. Please do understand, here the Supreme Court or the bench led by Justice Rohinton Nariman has made it very clear that building can be exempted or residential accommodation buildings can be exempted from property tax only when the residential accommodation's core purpose is to accommodate nuns and students, which will provide them easy access to the educational institutions, and those residential accommodations are not for profit. Only then the buildings can claim exemption from paying property tax. And the court did not agree to the Kerala government's view that those residential buildings should be taxed because they are used for residential purposes. Please do understand what the Kerala government says. Kerala government's view is that once they have been constructed as a residential purpose, not as a commercial purpose, when they are constructed as a residential purpose, they should go ahead with activities which are residential in nature. But the residential buildings, when they are accommodating the commercial activities or when they are making sure that it is used for educational institutions, so they should be taxed. This is the view of the Kerala government, but the court did not agree to the view of the Kerala government, and the Kerala government also said that when the residentials are used for religious activities, and the section 3 of 1 of B of the Kerala Building Tax Act 1975, it exempts payment of tax for any kind of premises which are principally used for religious, which are used for charitable units, or educational purposes, factories or workshops. So those premises cannot be taxed, or they are exempted from payment of tax as per section 3 of 1 of B of Kerala Building Tax Act 1975. So another key phrase here is Kerala Building Tax Act 1975, which the court, Supreme Court, has brought in the Kerala Building Tax Act 1975, and it has rejected the Kerala's contention, that is the Kerala government's view, that the premises which are used for religious activities should be taxed. And there is another news which definitely we will look at, is in regards to the issues which the US trade makes it that there are issues in regards to the campaign which the government of India has come up with, the Make in India campaign. And as per 2021 President's Trade Agenda and 2020 Annual Report of the US is trying to resolve the long-standing market access impediments which are affecting the US exporters with India. Please do understand here, as per President's or 2021 President Trade Agenda and as per 2020 Annual Report of US Trade Report, the US is trying to resolve the market access impediments. That means the kind of hurdles or market access hurdles to the US exporters with India or into India. That means there are hurdles which are created by Indian policy or India's trade policy, which affects the US exporters to invest in India. And this is what the US has raised, and US is trying to resolve the market access impediments, hurdles, which they say, that is US says, or as per the US trade report, it says that the hurdles are in the Make in India campaign itself. And the report describes that Trump administration has revoked India's preferential trading status. This is a keyword, India's PTS or preferential trading status under GSP. So these two are the keywords which the Trump administration has revoked India's preferential trading status under GSP, that is Generalized System of Preference program, in the month of June 2019. And the Trump administration has discussions to achieve a mini trade deal with India, that is revoking the India's preferential trading status under GSP, that is Generalized System of Preferences program, which will create a mini trade deal between India and US. Please do understand the keywords here: President's Trade Agenda, Annual Report, and India's preferential trading status, Generalized System of Preferences, and mini trade deal. And the annual report, that is US trade report, has been submitted by the US trade representatives, that is USTR, to the Congress in US, and the report has called for, or it has emphasized on the India's policies as trade restrictives. Please do understand here, because you will understand better the hurdles or impediments between US and India trade, or trade between US and India. And as per this US trade annual report, it says that India's policies are trade restrictives, and the Make in India campaign, it epitomizes the challenges to the trade relations between US and India. Please do understand this concept. What the report which has been submitted to the by the US trade representatives to the Congress says that there is a fault in the Indians policies which are trade restrictive, and the Make in India campaign has various, or it epitomizes the challenges of the trade between India and US. And it says that as India is a large market, it has economic growth, it has progress towards development, and this India being large market, India's economic growth and progress towards development makes an essential market. That is, these three are the reasons which make India an essential market for US exporters, so that US investors would wish and come and invest in India, because India is a large market, India has an economic growth, and it progress towards development. But in spite of these three reasons, the US exporters feel India is an essential market to invest. But because of the general and consistent trend, of the trade restricted policies of India, or India's trade policies, it creates an hurdle, impediments to the potential of bilateral trade relationship between India and US. What is that? Is an hurdle, or which inhibits, and which is an impediment to the US India bilateral trade relations, is the trade restrictive policy. Which inhibits the US India bilateral trade relationships. So these are the challenges. You can take these 3 points, 1, 2, 3 points, as the challenges to India US bilateral trade relationships. Please do understand, you have a couple of lines, that is the challenges which are met in the midst of India US trade relationship or bilateral trade relationship. And the Make in India campaign was launched by the Prime Minister of India in the year 2014. It was launched to incentivize production in India. But the report submitted, it says that it is a trade restrictive policies of India and Make in India campaign which are challenges to the trade relationship or bilateral trade relationships. And there is another news which talks about pay rise, or there is a miss for most Indian women in regards to the pay rise, or in regards to the promotion or work offers, due to gender, or due to bias, gender bias. And this is as per the report. According to LinkedIn, it says that 85% or 4 in 5 working women in India believe that they have missed an opportunity to raise, or to have promotion, or to have a work offer because of the gender bias. And if we look at a deeper analysis of the report, it says that the women in India have experienced the impact of gender, not only in regards to their promotion or work offers, but it has impacted the gender bias on their career development. This is the keyword. How the gender bias on the working women in India has impacted on their individual career development when compared to the Asia Pacific region. And as per the Opportunity Index 2021 report, the average in India or working women stands at 60 for the Asia Pacific region. That means If you look at the Indians or working women in India are 85 percentage, and overall in the Asia Pacific region, Indian working women constitute 60 percentage in the impact of gender on career development, wherein they are missing a promotion or a work offer because of the gender bias. And this is very crucial information in regards to the societal issues, or to be specific, the women empowerment or the gender bias. And this is a question for the mains for today, wherein you can try to answer to improve your answer writing skills. And the question is, working women in India believe they have missed out a raise, promotion or a work offer because of their gender, and they also believe that they have experienced the impact of the gender on career development. Discuss. So this is in regards to the issues of women in India, or women empowerment, gender bias, and how the gender bias is affecting the career development of a women or working women in India. So this is a very good question, which will be a probable question in the general essay, because in general essay there is one question in regards to the women empowerment or gender bias, and also the way we can talk about women being looked at in India, which is a social issue. And I hope this session was informative, knowledgeable, and very much useful for mains as well as prelims UPSC perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all. Good luck to you all. Do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And do not forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and the Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy. And see you again tomorrow with the daily news analysis at AKS IAS Academy. And then till then, thank you, goodbye, and take care.